this special episode we so proudly present. We are super excited about this content. A lengthy interview from both Kyle and John, a conversation with some psycho's mom. She gave birth to Freddy, not once but twice. She stalked a summer camp with a big knife. In the film Stakeout, she was Emilio's wife. And in quarantine, she would fight for our life. So sit back and watch our chat with our guest. We promise you that we will be our best. And by the end, we are sure you'll agree. There can only be one, the awesome Beatrice Boepple.
Welcome back, boys and girls, to In the Spotlight. I am John Horton.
And I'm Kyle Pearson, and today we have a special guest. That's right, she has been mostly known for one particular role, and now she's expanding on that. She is now the mother of all evil, and we're going to learn about that today when we get to know Beatrice Boepple. Ladies and gentlemen, Beatrice, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hi, gentlemen. Nice to be here.
We're so glad to have you.
It is an honor.
Yeah.
Freddy's mom and now Jason's mom.
And Jason's mom. And
Leatherface's mom sometime soon.
And a crazy, crazy mom. I just finished this weekend playing a pretty crazy mom. I can't say too much about it because I don't want to, no spoilers, but let's just say I'm a little psychotic.
Really? Really? Ooh. Oh, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I think I know it already. Okay.
What?
Now I'm looking very forward to this. Okay. Okay, we might have to have you on again when that comes out. Okay, so you are known as the mother of Freddy Krueger, and somehow along the line, you have also taken on the reins of Jason Voorhees' mom. How did that happen?
Yeah, the Jason Voorhees. Well, you know, after 3+ decades of being known just as Freddy's mom. Well, I shouldn't say just as. I mean, that's kind of something, Freddy Krueger's mom. But yeah, I guess it's been about two years now that I've returned to acting after taking a long hiatus. And I've been, you know, a lot of independent filmmakers, you know, want to use, you know, a has-been. No, I'm just kidding. No. No, but you know, somebody from the horror world, you know, and there tends to be a lot of us from the 80s horror genre. And oddly enough, I mean, so many of us were in the same boat. We kind of took a long break to have families, to have kids. And then now, you know, these franchises are still living thanks to our fans. And when people are making all these independent films, that's really helpful for them, they feel, to have a name or two to raise money. So I've been, you know, asked to do a lot of films. So I've done 13 as of last week in the past 2 years. And it's been a lot of fun. And so then I was asked by Anthony Caimano to do, to play Jason Voorhees not to play Jason, my God, to play his mom, Pamela Voorhees, in his fan film, Blood Loss, Friday the 13th, Blood Loss. And it was really interesting because you know, I'll be honest, I really didn't watch I've watched the very first one. I think I've seen the first of every franchise, you know, back in the day, but until I started doing conventions, I was not a horror fan. So even Nightmare on Elm Street, I'd seen the first one, and then I'd seen mine, which was number 5. And I never saw the other ones until I went to write my book. But anyway, so Friday the 13th, I wasn't very familiar with it. But my gosh, I didn't realize how nice Jason is for a mom. He's a good boy.
Is he now?
He loves his mama, and he listens to me, and he doesn't call me a bitch. And yeah, he's very polite and a very, very, very different son than my son, Freddy.
That's true. It helps when they don't talk back.
It does help. He doesn't talk back, and all I have to do is look at somebody or point to somebody, and he'll kill that person for me. You know, he's very handy. You know, he's useful. He's big. He's strong. Whereas Freddy is just always causing trouble, and Freddy's terrified of me, so he's always mean to me. Yeah.
So now that you've done the one Blood Loss, are you're being asked to play her in other fan films as well.
Yeah, I played her in Jason in Indianapolis. I played Pamela Voorhees. It was Samuel Schmucker's film. That I played Pamela Voorhees. That was also a tribute film. And I believe, wait, did I play her in one more thing? Pamela Voorhees. Yeah, no, those were the two. I've been there's another production by a guy, Maurice McCoy, Jason Escapes from Hell, which has been in the works for several years. So we'll see if it comes together. But the interesting thing in that is he wants me to play both Pamela Voorhees and Amanda Krueger in the same film, which would be really, really cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a face-off. That's going to be a little bit interesting to see how that plays off.
Go back and forth, back and forth. That would be a lot of fun. After playing Pamela, then my goal became to find a way to play Michael Myers' mom, because then that would be the trifecta. If I was Jason, Freddy, and Michael's mom, then I could truly be the mother of all evil, the mother of horror.
Well, that's the thing with all of these fan films getting made, I'm sure, and now that it's out there that you're interested, they would be crazy not to pick you up and do that.
Yeah. Well, and a number of them have had me play, Amanda as well, Amanda Krueger. So I played Amanda in Resurrection, a Nightmare on Elm Street tribute, which was a film done by a guy named Chris Pace in Italy. And the whole thing was done remotely. He had, I think almost the entire cast was American actors, but everyone had to remotely do their scene and send it to him. And he edited it all together. And it's actually, given that that's how it was made, it's not bad. It's kind of interesting. You'd think it's going to be like just awful, awful with with all our little parts. But he, with special effects and editing and stuff, he kind of made an interesting thing with he plays Freddy though. So Freddy has a very interesting accent.
Was there a lot of back and forth between you and this gentleman in Italy where you'd send him your scenes and he'd come back and say, no, that's not what we're looking for?
No one. When I've done remotely, people are like, oh, it's wonderful. They don't dare say that to me, I guess. I don't know. No, I don't know. He seemed to like it. He was very happy with it. It was pretty basic stuff. I'm reaching out to my son, Freddy. And it was kind of it was fun to do. And he had interesting little special effects. I feel like I resurrected her one more time. Where did I play her? Oh, you know what? I wasn't playing Amanda Krueger. I did play though a nun. And the guy, Glam Boy Productions, it was called Christmas Bloodbath. And I was a nun called Sister Nan. And I think that was his way of his way of honoring Nan Martin, who played Pamela Voorhees the very first time in Elm Street 3.
Okay.
Which when I filmed 5, I didn't know it had ever been played by anyone before.
So one thing I like about you in particular is I've gone to a lot of these conventions, and somebody who might sit there and talk to you a little bit, get to know you. You sometimes come in full regalia. You got the non-costume on. And there's actually a picture of you online. I don't know if we can use it or not, but basically you're straddling a baby Freddy Krueger, like you're giving birth in the nun's costume. And I'm like, okay, now this is somebody that you need to get in line for, because a lot of them, you don't really get the experience other than, okay, I got the signature. You make it a whole event for people. And even though because my wife and I talked to you just after I think I'd shot my scene for Blood Loss, because I had done a quick little thing for Blood Loss. And you and I talked for a long time. And then, the very next week you were doing the thing with the nun get up, and I'm like, wow, this is really a very friendly, personable person. So if you're at one of these conventions and you're trying to decide who you want to meet, go up to Beatrice, because she's going to make it fun for you, and she's got a lot of stuff that she can sign. She signed twice on here. I've got the 4-pack of the last 4 Freddy movies, which also happens to have Jason on there. So she got my boys on there, which was really nice. And then I also got her book A Nightmare Before Elm Street. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Krueger Curse, Nightmare Before Elm Street, was I got the same one. Woo, good stereo. During COVID, I think we all had a lot of time. And so it gave me time to write this book. As an actor, most actors, we all create the background for our characters, whatever's not given to us in the script. And scripts can vary. Sometimes they give you a detailed background about your character, but other times you just get your character just appearing wherever the scene starts, and you don't know where they were before, you don't know where they're going after, you don't know any of their background. So our job as an actor to make the characters come to life is to create our backstory. So when I was playing Amanda Krueger, as I mentioned, I did not know that she had been played before by anyone else, but she had been played by Nan Martin. And I'm glad I didn't know, because, if I did, then I'm sure I would have tried to watch it. I would have watched Elm Street 3 and then tried to make my character match her to be the younger her. But I'm grateful that I didn't, in the sense that, I got to make her my own. And, it was a different stage of Amanda Krueger's life. Well, in fact, I mean, she's dead. Well, she was dead in 3 too, come to think of it. But anyway, she's always dead. We're just floating back. It's the fun magic of film that we get to just show up when we want to.
That's true. Nobody's ever really gone.
No one's really gone. And, I get to rebirth Freddy all over again. And, anyway, but my point is, I didn't really have any information about her other than what was in the script. I knew he was scared of her, because that happens in Elm Street 5. You see him seeing her and he's like, he backs off, and, he's terrified by his own mom. And which I have to say is a pretty damn cool thing, to be the one thing in the world that Freddy Krueger is scared of. Like that, I think that makes me pretty darn powerful. But anyway, so I started to write it. I started to write her background, and which leads into his background, and create the life story that came a little bit before the film begins. And then it follows through all the movies. So to write it, I actually watched all the Elm Streets, every single one, all the way through. Not the remake, but I watched the other ones anyway, all the way through. And I kind of drew on the stories that were in the films, but filling in the gaps. And like one of the characters I explored in particular was Freddy Krueger's stepdad, which Alice Cooper played, because we don't know anything about him. We just know why did he adopt a kid if he's this drunken old man? You never see a wife, and it's just odd for a man to just adopt a baby. And he's always beaten on him, and then baby Freddy's, or young Freddy's, enjoying getting beaten up. So I explore that, explore a little bit about Freddy's getting married, and then it follows through with his killing his wife in front of his daughter and all that stuff. So yeah, it's basically the backstory to Freddy and Amanda Krueger, their backstory, embellished with stuff from my imagination. And it takes you all the way through till he's killed by the parents, the angry parents. They throw him into the furnace, and I lock myself away in the tower. So where the book ends is where Nightmare on Elm Street 1 would pick up.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I like that.
Yeah.
And
Where's that available at? Where can folks get that besides at the shows with you?
Yeah, the only places you can get it is either at the shows or on my website, which is my name, beatriceboepple.com. And I have it's definitely less than 100. I think I've got to count, but something like 50 or 60 left in the world. So, and this is already the 3rd printing. I don't know that I'll be doing another one, but I think I will be, once my son sets up my sound booth for me, I'll be doing a video version. Yeah, I said that because he's in the kitchen.
Okay.
He sets up my sound booth. A lot of people, say they don't like to read anymore, which is sad. And and you Kyle, you read it. It's short. It's a very short book, and it's got lots of pictures too. So it's not like it's, it's a short read. You could read it in one sitting, I think.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about it because I am one of those guys who just doesn't have time to read a book. And if I'll read a chapter or two, and then like 3 or 4 weeks go by, and I pick up the book, and I'm like, I have no idea where I am,
And then you
and
have
I
to start all
and
over.
I have
Yeah.
to start all over. I love this book because not only is it very interesting and it's a page turner and you keep going, but it's the perfect size for me. I could read this whole thing in a day. I wasn't feeling very well. I'm like, okay, I'm home. I finally get a chance to read this, and I did. I spent the day. I read the book. I loved it, and I kept thinking, you're now in fan, movie mode. Make a fan movie based on this because it's
Yes.
fantastic.
Thank you. Well, it'd be interesting. Yeah, I could certainly do a fan film, and number of people that have worked on Elm Street, some of the special effects guys, some of the directors, different people, have talked to me about doing it. So it's definitely a possibility. Um, and I had great artists do a lot of the work. See, so that's Amanda Krueger on the ground. She's reaching out as the car is driving away, where they're taking Freddy away. And the moon that's coming up is kind of like Freddy's face, and the tree is like his glove. Um, the I had Joe St. Pierre did a lot of the artwork. I had 3 different artists, but Joe St. Pierre is he works for Marvel Comics in DC, and he did, he's done like Spider-Man and what's that other one that is it in here? Uh anyway, he's done a lot of cartoons. So anyway, they're just really beautiful illustrations, I think. And we have the Krueger family tree. So
Oh, nice.
you're right. So it's on the glove. So anyway, it's an interesting thing. It was my gift, my sort of love letter to Elm Street fans and to the character of Amanda Krueger, who's deeply embedded in my heart. As you can tell, I don't know if you can see my background. There's a little bit of Amanda going on here.
You got all kinds of cool stuff back there, and I see because we follow you on Facebook. You get sent gifts and stuff from the fans, and that's got to be really just heartfelt when you're getting a gift from a character you played decades ago.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I mean, that's why I spend so much time. I have my own podcast that I go on, not often enough. But when DK and the Bee with John Henderson, Doomsday Crypt, and whenever we do a show, it really is our love letter to the fans. We always do a giveaway, and we chit chat with the fans and their comments, and on Facebook, I mean, the people that interact with me regularly, I mean, sometimes I'll be very busy and go for months without being on, but when I am on, I respond to my fans and I talk to them, because this would not be here without the fans. It's the fans that have kept it alive. It's a 35-year-old film that could have been totally forgotten about, and the fans are why we have the shows. And so, unless you love the fans and are grateful to the fans, if that's not your reason for doing the shows, you really shouldn't be at the shows. I mean, yes, it is obviously good money, when we have kids that we're trying to put through college, American private college, but I'm at the age, like, I'm not going to do something unless it's fun, and it's got to be fun for me, and it's got to be fun for the people. And then you get these amazing things. So here's my action figure. Oops.
Oh, nice.
Oops. Everything looks fuzzy. I don't know why.
That looks good.
Oh yeah, yes. If it's right next to your face, it looks great.
Right next to my face. And then look at this.
Oh, wow.
We'll take that.
Someone put some work into that.
This is amazing, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah. So
holy cow. I mean, that's really detailed too.
Yeah, it is.
Really, really detailed. I've been asking for ages from people. I've gotten smaller versions, but I wanted one that would be the right size for her, because people buy her, and collectors that have like the whole room with action figures, if they get an Amanda action figure, now they can have this is like dream child. So it's very, very cool. And then we're getting baby Freddy, I think, for about the right size. There's this guy.
Oh, nice.
Right.
That is
That is
crazy.
amazing.
My
And that was from a fan.
This was from a fan. Yep,
Wow.
absolutely. And then as was this little miniature one.
That is awesome.
And there's a little baby Freddy in there.
Holy cow.
Honestly, like not if I die, we're all going to die. When I die, I have like the world's biggest Amanda Krueger collection, because I don't think anyone else has Amanda Krueger collection, but
Oh, you'd probably be surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
that's true. And then look at this.
Wow.
This is the only one I actually commissioned. This one. I found an art. I wanted, my fans come and they have that whole huge replica done by David Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? The special effects guy that did, I think it's Dave Miller. That sounds like a band, doesn't it? It is a band too. Anyway, do, 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 come on and dance. I think that's Dave Miller. Anyway, but the guy that created the Freddy Krueger baby in Elm Street 5, people have a big thing that they buy from him, and that Freddy is like huge. And I can't afford it. It's like, I think it's like $800 or something like that. So, and I kind of hinted like, oh, would you give me one or give me a break? And haven't heard from him. So I found this woman in, I think she's in Turkey, and she makes these amazing little figures of usually, the only thing I saw on her Instagram was things like Dracula and, the old monsters.
Mm-hmm.
But her work was so amazing. So I reached out, I wrote to her and I said, any chance you would make me a baby Freddy? And she did.
Man, I mean, that is so well done.
Look at
Exactly. It is scary how creative and how these folks put this stuff together.
Right? It's really, really amazing. And so she made this for me. I was the only person that has this one in the world. But then their town had a huge earthquake, and she lost half of her home and was struggling financially. So when she got things together, I said, if you make, a few more, I'll sell them for you and send, have them send you the money.
Oh, that is very cool.
That's very awesome.
So I think we sold, it's either 4 or 5. There's not that many anyway, but I have the original one.
But that could be in the movie. I mean, that is
Right.
so realistic.
It's incredible. I mean, the glistening eyes, and you can almost hear him like the sounds we heard when he came out of me. But anyway,
you have probably the most disturbing scenes in the franchise.
Perhaps, although I honestly think Erica in my film, where she in number 5, Greta gets fed her own stomach. I think that's that's the most
that's pretty rough.
That's really rough. That's the reason I wouldn't let my sons watch it, was that scene. Like, if it weren't for that scene, most of 5 would have been okay, even when they were young, but that one was, anyway.
How old were they when they saw it?
Well, I don't know if they've actually ever seen it.
Really?
Upstairs. They claim they haven't. I don't know.
It seems like that would be an interesting, your mom is Freddy's mom.
Right.
And that would be
I have 2 sons. Well, I have 4 sons if you count Freddy and Jason, but my 2 human sons, you'd think it's kind of a cool thing, like your mom's Freddy's mom. Like, they were embarrassed when I was their PTA president. They're embarrassed when I was their substitute teacher for Japanese. Okay. But hell, Freddy Krueger's mom, at least at Halloween, everyone's dressing as Freddy. You go, well, guess what? My mom played his mom. But no, they never. In fact, how I knew nobody knew was one of my sons. He was taking some film classes in high school. And one of the film buddies wanted to do a Friday the 13th, fan film. and they stopped by the house to get something, and they saw all this, my background. And they're like, they said to my son, why is your mom so into Nightmare on Elm Street? Like, why does she have all that stuff? So then he goes, Mom, you want to tell him? And I said, oh yeah, I thought it was a good film. I wouldn't tell him.
Really?
And then, well, just because they were being so jerky, to not have bragged about it. But anyway, so then he goes, no, Mom, tell him the truth. And I said, and then I told him, and their friends were blown away. Like, whoa, that's so cool. Oh my God, really, really? And yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way boys are. Is that what you do? You torture your mom and never let her know you're proud? I don't know.
I torture my mom a lot. I actually am so bad on Facebook toward my mother,
Aw.
even though they're only jokes, and she laughs her ass off. But some of her friends that only see my side and don't see her response think I was awful. And I'm like, no, it's funny. I wouldn't make the joke if I thought it was really going to upset her. So I
Right.
only say it because I think it's funny. If my mom was the mother of Freddy Krueger, I would be telling everybody I know about it.
Right.
So I think that's odd. So okay, so here's the question then: who do you like better, your real sons or your theatrical sons?
Yeah.
Kyle.
Well, I'll tell you, when the residuals come around, I definitely like Freddy.
Well, I was gonna say they're probably not gonna watch this if they didn't watch your movie. That
No.
just boggles me.
Yeah, no, they didn't watch it. And they claim they haven't watched any of my stuff. I mean, I've shown them like, oh, I know exactly what my son had said when I asked him, when he was older. I said, you can watch it now. And he goes, I don't want to watch you giving birth.
No. Okay. So I
Whatever.
thought maybe they thought you were, they were afraid you were going to be nude. And they're like, well, we don't want to see our mom nude because there's nudity in these movies. So maybe
Right.
that was what they were avoiding. But if it was just the given birth part, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean,
Maybe that would traumatize you. I don't know.
I'm in a gown. I mean, I'm covered up, but whatever. At least in that film. So anyway.
So now you had said that with when you're taking on these roles, you really want to get in the space, you want to create the backstory. When you went to do the Friday the 13th fan films, was there any of that involved, or did you just basically take what oh my God, Betsy Palmer?
Yeah. For that, I watched Betsy Palmer. I watched the original one again, and I was wearing the wig, I had the blue sweater, and it was pretty, from watching the first one, it's pretty clear what her motive was,
Right.
and her relationship with her son, with Jason. And at the risk of people who've heard the story before, I thought it was actually kind of funny because when I went to play Amanda, and now that you worked with Anthony and stuff on Blood Loss, so we were on set in the middle of the woods in upstate New York, pitch dark. It was like 2 or 3 or 4 or something in the morning in the wintertime, so it was very dark. They drive me, I get dropped off, I get brought to this trailer that they were, a motorhome that everyone was using, as that's where you eat, that's where you prepare stuff. So they said, sit down, wait, you can relax here for a little bit, have a cup of coffee, we'll be right back, we're setting up the set in the woods. So I sit down early in the morning. I never met these people, never worked with them, in the middle of the woods. There's no reception on my phone. And as soon as they drive off, I hear, and the generator just dies. And the motorhome is plunged into darkness. And because it's in the middle of the woods, it's dark. Like there's just nothing. I can't see anything in front of me, And so I'm sitting there in the dark and I'm like, okay, this is kind of creepy, and I'm waiting and waiting. And finally, Mandy, the producer, Mandy comes in. She's going to be helping me with my wig and everything. And she's like, oh my God, what happened? She goes, this never happens. And they're trying to fix the generator. They tried. It wouldn't go on. It wouldn't go on. So she had to put my wig on using her cell phone, the light from the cell phone. So I jokingly said, I had already written the book. So I jokingly said, oh, this is the Krueger's Curse. And she goes, what? And I said, Freddy is pissed off that I'm playing Jason's mom. He doesn't want me to play Jason's mom. He's like, you're a bitch, but you're my bitch, And so he did not want me to play his enemy's mom. So he's cursing our set. I kind of joked about it. So then we go out into the woods, and it's as calm as can be. It's early in the morning. There's no wind. It's just completely still, a little cold, but very still. And they have the lights set up in the woods. It's very atmospheric. And as soon as the actor playing Jason and myself come in front of the camera, they said action, and we step in front of the camera, out of the blue, boom, boom, the two lights just crash to the ground. Now this, and there's no wind, and Anthony and everybody's like, holy shit, this is freaky. Like, what's going on? So then they're all starting to talk about the Krueger's curse. And the third thing, because to me, three times a charm or three times a curse or whatever. We're taking a break. We're sitting by the little campfire that they made, and it's chilly. So I'm sitting there, in a chair, and I have my feet up, on the camp. What do you call it? The ring of fire. What do you call it? A fire pit. They
Fire
made
pit.
rock.
Yeah.
So my feet are resting on the rocks, and I'm wearing like big hiking boots, and with thick tread. And suddenly one of the people across the fire goes, Beatrice, look at your shoe. I said, what? I looked down and my boot, the tread on the boot is all melted, and it's like lava. It's like dripping down, this black, oozy, rubbery stuff. It's just like going drip, drip onto the rocks. And it's all mumbly and everything. It's like Freddy's burnt face. My shoe ends up looking like Freddy's face. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Now I believe it's cursed. And I will say, like, that shoot was very, very cursed. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. And that's why Anthony had to kind of recast almost all the characters and reshoot them a year later, or 6 months later. We had to go back and redo it because so many things went wrong. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. And I think it was my boy.
Could be.
Like, you're not playing Jason's.
Could be. Good Lord.
Wow, that's crazy.
I keep hearing all these movies lately. There's like some sort of drama going on behind the scenes. And I'm like, I wonder why people keep doing these, because there's always these really bad stories involved. But no,
I will say, I mean, like I said, I've done 13 now, and a couple had some bad stuff. The vast majority did not. I mean, are there trouble? Do people run into issues with even non-independent films? I mean, studio stuff, with huge budgets have issues too. It's the creative process, but they're not always, I mean, yeah, they're definitely more pronounced in independent films, I think. But I've been on many sets that things weren't horrible. So
you've got more stuff coming, right?
Yeah, I do.
Good, because the 13th film and Krueger's Curse, that's not a good combo there.
I didn't even think of that.
Let's go to 14.
But 13 actually seems to have turned out really, really well. Like, we filmed it last week, and Bobby Heckman, Catherine Mary Stewart, you guys know her from oh my God. Come on.
Okay. Yeah.
She's also a big 80s star. She was in well, I know she was in Weekend at Bernie's, but that's not what she's famous for. She was famous for I'm just a senile old lady. I forget everything. Anyway, she you can look her up, Catherine Mary Stewart. If you totally, Night of the Comet.
That's what I'm thinking, Night of the Comet.
Yeah, I think that's one of them, and she's done a bunch of stuff. So she's co-directing it, and there's some lovely actors from the original Friday the 13th in it as well.
I know what it is now.
Okay.
So that's the one we filmed, where I'm a little bit of an interesting mother. Let's just say that. I won't say too much more about it. So the film is an anthology. It's a Friday the 13th fan film, but it's an anthology. So there's a number of different stories, and the story that I'm in, I had so much fun filming it. It was a blast.
How would you say the experience differs between fan films and studio films?
Oh my God. It's like night and day. I hate to say it, but I've loved doing the independent films, and I love the energy and the creativity and the passion that a lot of the filmmakers have. But there's something to be said for
budget,
like, and being that, I mean, I think, maybe for a lot of actors, they start off doing like low budget indie films and work their way up. I'm seeming to be doing the backwards. I did, big things like Stakeout and Nightmare on Elm Street and 21 Jump Street and all this kind of stuff, back in the 80s. So I started off with, having your own trailer, getting picked up, having makeup and wardrobe and all that stuff. And you show up like a zombie in the morning. All you have to do is show up, and the ADs already have your coffee ready for you. This way, be it Miss Boepple or whatever, and they take you in and you can just sit there and they make you beautiful and do all that stuff. Whereas an independent film, it's like we're lugging our own stuff. Most of the time we're doing our own wardrobe, our own makeup, and the food service is not like the kind of craft service you get on films. You don't get the same kind of breaks. It's a lot harder work. And the biggest difference for actors is the amount of memorizing you have to do, because studio films, maybe it's changed, but on the bigger budgets, you're shooting maybe one page a day. So you have a lot of time to, they do shooting from every different angle. Everybody's close up, everybody's over the shoulder, everybody's master, all this stuff. So it's not a whole lot that you have to really nail down for that, for the next day or whatever. Whereas with independent films, you're filming the whole entire movie in maybe anywhere from 1 day to a week or something. It depends on the budget and depends on the length of the film. But so you're having to kind of really work your whole script, have it all completely down, and in much rougher conditions. So it's definitely harder work. It's definitely harder work. And yeah. And then once in a while you're running into, the lack of experience, which that's not so much fun with, if your crew and your director and stuff aren't that experienced. I mean, I know, again, I like to support it because everyone needs to start somewhere, but that hasn't been the case with all of them. A lot of them, people are very experienced. They just, are lower budget. So they're doing the little independent films, and that's, that's fine. I don't mind that, but there's something to be said for experience, because then the whole process runs better,
How did you first get into this?
Into acting.
Yeah, in acting. What was it? Beachcombers? Was that your first, or was it one of your first?
Beachcombers probably. Yeah, it was. Yeah, Beachcombers was my first TV. Yeah, and that was before I did film. I've done commercials before Beachcombers, because my very first paid gig other than theater, like, I did theater first, Equity, or Canadian Actors Equity, but I had done a Billy Graham commercial.
Oh, really?
And I think somewhere around here, I even I had a photocopy of the check, because I think I made $1,700 for one day's work. And, coming out of theater school, I was like, it was amazing.
Wow.
I was so blown away. But yeah, Beachcombers was my first big role. And oh my gosh, I learned the biggest thing I learned doing Beachcombers, which for those of you who don't know, it's Canadian, or it used to be anyway, Canada's longest running TV series. It's no.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I remember watching it when I got home from school, and I don't remember much about other than there was this one guy that was slower or had something that, people made fun of him, and I always felt bad for him. So every day I'd tune in to see if he, what happened to him.
Okay.
And it didn't seem like a show that a teenager would watch necessarily, but for some reason I was hooked to it, and I watched it day after day for a long time on American television. I didn't realize it was such a huge hit in Canada.
Yeah, in Canada, it was filmed in British Columbia, and it was at the time it was their longest running show. It had run for I don't know how long, but Bruno Gerussi was the star, and I played I guest starred as this girl who shows up at Knots Landing where it takes place, and I claim to be his daughter. I believe that I'm his daughter. So it was a very interesting and dramatic. I end up in prison, and I'm like crying, and it turns out, my mother has died, and it was a very dramatic role. I loved playing it. And when I look back, I'm, for my first TV gig, I think I did a really good job, considering some of the stuff was a bit over the top, but that's where I really learned how camera, you know, is very different than stage. I mean, it's right there. So you really just need to feel it. You don't have to show it. You just feel it, and the camera will see it in your eyes, you know, whereas in theater, you're always trying to project, right? So that the people way at the back row can see if you're crying or whatever. So everything has to be so much bigger. So coming from theater to film, and my theater school training, my 4-year theater program did not teach us about film at all, which is a pity. I mean, they really should have, because Vancouver, I went to school in Victoria, British Columbia, at the University of Victoria, and they have a great theater program, but they really should have covered film, and they probably do now, because Vancouver is called, you know, Hollywood North.
Mm-hmm.
They have so many productions there. And it was absolutely fantastic to be able to make a living as an actor. I mean, I was able to do that there because there was so much work. And what I liked about the way it worked in Vancouver was you could do a commercial, you could do some theater, you could do radio, you could do film, you could do TV, you know, nobody was put into a box. You just worked as much as you could. And so everybody's working. Most everybody was training, and one day you're the big lead role, you might be the headliner, and another one you're just like a background, well, you probably not background, but like one line or something like that, a day player, and nobody judges. It's just like work, work, work. But when I went to LA, it seemed like immediately they want to put you in a box. Are you a lead actor? Are you a A-lister, B-lister? You know, are you a horror film actor? Elm Street was my first thing. Boom, that's all they would get me. That's all they sent me for was horror film, after, you know, a decade of doing all kinds of different things. So anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, so I hear that, you know, I'm always thinking like, you know, well, even Robert Englund, I guess, when you see him, you're just thinking, okay, he's going to do something horror. So, you know, it was weird because he was also in V as the nice alien.
Right.
And then he's the, you know, the horror one. So that's interesting you should say that. And Vancouver, I've been to, actually, part of my honeymoon was there.
Oh, nice.
That is so beautiful. It is
Isn't
a
it?
gorgeous town. If you
Yeah.
ever get it, yeah, anybody ever gets an opportunity to go there, check it out, because that is a part of Canada. Because I lived in Michigan, I'd been to you know, that side of the country, but not the other side. And I absolutely, you know, Vancouver knocks you out when you see it. It's gorgeous.
It's stunning. Vancouver and Victoria. I mean, now I will say Vancouver's unbelievably overcrowded. It didn't used to be like that. So traffic and everything's pretty tough because the roads aren't made for the amount of traffic they now have. But, you know, you're at the beach and you're seeing this gorgeous, you know, very natural, rugged ocean and, you know, pine trees. And then there's cascading mountains. You can see snow-capped mountains in the same place, and you can see forests, and there's lakes, and everything's there. And a beautiful, really vibrant city with, you know, great culture, great restaurants, great shopping, you know, everything you could want.
Wow.
Yeah. And lots of film and TV.
So tell us a little bit about another one of my absolute favorite films, Stakeout. I loved Stakeout. I own it, that and the sequel. How was your experience on that with Emilio?
Yeah. Well, so I never saw the second one. I refused to because they didn't have me back. How dare they?
And you are sadly missed. I will say that. It's
Do
like,
they have any scenes with Emilio's home? Like, does he ever go home or no?
no, they are out. I think it's more focused on Richard Dreyfuss and his relationship with his girlfriend. And I think, if I recall, if anything, Emilio's on the phone with your character, but never does actually talk to. I don't think so. I think it's mostly just the fact that, okay, we're worried about this, and then they added in Rosie O'Donnell, so they're focusing on her. So they don't explore Emilio's home life like they did in the first one.
Oh, speaking of Stakeout, so Aidan Quinn, who played the bad guy in the original Stakeout, I just watched him this afternoon in a film called Sarah's Key, which was based on a book that I had read, and there was Aidan Quinn, and I'm like, I worked with him. And we actually have the same trigger point therapist. So sometimes when I'm getting my trigger point therapy, she says, "Oh, Aidan was on the bed just before you." Anyway, okay, you don't need to hear that. Anyhow, but Stakeout was such a blast to work on. Emilio was such a sweetheart to work with, and Richard Dreyfuss was like unbelievable. I mention him when I'm working on films because he was such a generous actor. He had just won the Academy Award, I think, already by the time we were filming it for was it Goodbye Girl? Goodbye Girl?
Yes, I think so.
Or something like that. Yeah. In any case, I mean, he was a big name. Jaws had already, been way before that. So he already was a huge headliner at the time. And the scenes where I'm in bed with Emilio, where he's talking on the phone, anyone in the film world will know if you're doing phone scenes, the actor who's not, who's on the other line usually won't show up, especially if they're a big name. Like they're not going to show up on that day because they're not on camera. So all they need is somebody, as a AD or somebody will read the lines so that the person in front of the camera, they don't need to have, the other actor standing there. Richard Dreyfuss would come to set.
Really?
And he delivered all his lines. He stood there by the camera and delivered all his lines.
Wow.
I think he did it also just so he could be silly. So
because I think it helps because there's, if you're just talking to somebody who's reading the lines like this, and then you get his emotion, you know how to react. Because the chemistry in that movie is phenomenal. That's right. It's another one of those great buddy films.
Yeah.
And I think the storyline in the second one, there's a few things right off the top which kind of distracts you from enjoying the movie as much as you could.
Okay.
And
good. I don't want that to be
so there you go. Of the two, you're in the better one.
Yay. But yeah, no, it's so true that that you give a lot more if you're working with the actual actor. And I tend to, it's weird, and I always get mad at myself, but I tend to, my best delivery of my lines tends to be when I'm off screen, when it's the close up on the other person, because I'll stand behind the camera and still look at them so that they have somebody to play off of. And I give them all the emotion so that they have something to work with. And and maybe because I know that the camera's not on me and I'm not nervous or whatever, that I just give everything, and I'm just like, my Oscar performance worthy, where the performance is usually when I'm off screen doing the delivery. But anyway, but so people have heard the story before, but I come into the bedroom and Emilio's been on the phone with Richard Dreyfuss, the characters, and I'm like, I'm sorry I didn't get the phone. And he's like, no, come here, get into bed. So I cuddle up really tough, I had to cuddle up next to, the brat pack, Emilio Estevez.
You do what you have to do for the art.
Sacrifice.
No, we have to suffer. So I got into bed with him, and I'm lying next to him, and he's finishing talking to Richard Dreyfuss's character. And Richard says, "Kiss Carol for me." And my character's name is Carol. So Emilio kisses me. And then Richard ad-libbed, because he was standing there. He goes, "No, lower."
That's right. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that was.
Then he hangs up the phone.
Yeah, that was him ad-libbing. So then he hands out the phone. Then I'm standing there, and and I think I say, oh yeah, I say to him, Emilio, how are you doing, honey? And he says, "I'm tired." And I say, "Tired?" And he goes, "Oh, not that tired." And we start to kiss. All right. So we're a husband and wife. We're in bed. We're kissing. Well, back in the day, we didn't have, what do they call them? Intimacy coordinators.
Yeah. Yep.
So there was no one there to say how far you're going to go, what you're going to do, where you're going to touch, and it's a PG rated film or whatever. I think, I don't know what it was rated, but certainly sex wasn't part of the script. But I am in bed with my husband, and it's supposed to, we're supposed to be making out. Well, the director, John Badham, kept not saying cut. And so we're kissing, and we're kissing, and we're kissing, and we're kissing. And how many times are you going to kiss your husband on the cheek? Like, that's ridiculous. So we kind of nuzzle and whatever. And he's not saying cut. And I'm like getting like really uncomfortable. And Emilio's uncomfortable too, because neither of us know what we're supposed to do, how far we're supposed to go with each other. But you want it to look realistic. Like you're an actor. You don't want it to look stupid. So I start to, just kind of take my hand under the covers and kind of move it around on his body. You know, it's getting weirder and weirder and more awkward. And finally, like when we're about to like, just like, what are we supposed to do? Like, why isn't this guy saying cut? We suddenly hear threesome, and Richard Dreyfuss runs in front of the camera and jumps into bed and sandwiched me between him and Amelia. You know, and somewhere, unless they threw it away, somewhere on somebody's extra reel is this footage, because they, you know, the director hadn't said cut yet. And in fact, the director finally says, "Don't leave me out," and he jumped into bed. So
really,
I'm wondering, like, if I ever either won an Oscar or I die or something, that this will suddenly emerge. You know, somebody will show it.
that's
But
one of those things. Well, yeah. Besides having the intimacy coordinator, it'd be something that if I was in the room as an actor, I'm like, you know what would be funny?
Right.
And then at the same time thinking, how much trouble am I going to get in if I do this? Because yeah, the climate is different now than it was then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I don't know
for
if
sure.
it's made some things much better for sure, but then I think there's some jokes that don't necessarily happen that may have back in the past.
Yeah, I think a lot of things would not have flown, but Richard Dreyfuss certainly had no worry about, you know, getting in trouble. He could do what he wanted. So he
Yeah.
ran in there and did that. And it was great fun. And I reminded him of that when I saw him at, was it Scarefest? Where was he at? He was, last year I was at a show that he was at, and we
Yeah, I
hadn't
know he's doing a lot. He was doing a lot to promote Jaws 50 too.
yeah.
So
And,
he's been around a lot.
yeah. And so I went up, you know, and he's quite a bit older. I mean, we all are a lot older. You know, I'm in my 60s, so I don't know. He's got to be close to 8. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, but he so I showed him, you know, I when I went and said hello, I said, "Do you remember when you did that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." You know, I don't know if he really did remember or not, but he said he did. So it was very sweet.
Unless he did it all the time, just jumping into bed with
Jumped into
people.
bed with everybody. Just to, you know, to finish up, to say that Emilio was an absolute sweetheart, and we, you know, we went out, you know, while he was in Vancouver, we went out, you know, to dinner and stuff, and then he actually came out to see a play that I was in.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it was very, very sweet. And then we stayed friends, and then when I moved to LA, we'd get together and go out and stuff, and we remained friends for a long time. It's been ages. I mean, I moved away from LA and we kind of lost touch, but you know, very, very nice guy.
You have a more recent movie, The Final Walk.
Oh yes,
That I was
yes.
interested. Not only are you the one of the main actors in that, but you also did writing duties on that.
Yeah.
It sounds really good. I'm having a hard time finding it streaming anywhere to watch.
Yeah, it's not streaming anywhere yet because we're still finishing up with the whole
Oh,
film festival circuit. So we've been going to tons of shows. My partner, film partner, entered it in a lot of film festivals. We've won a lot of awards, a lot of nominations. But I think when that's wrapped up, which, you know, is coming, I think it's coming to a close. I don't know how many more film festivals he's going to keep entering it in. We will probably try to find a way to stream it somewhere. I mean, ideally, if we could get it picked up for a little bit of money, it would be nice. If not, we'll stream it free on YouTube or something. But it would be nice to get the money back, because he and I produced it together. There's only 3 of us in the cast, but myself and Wendell Laurent wrote it, produced it, and then we acted in it with Glenn McBride, who's also a really prolific filmmaker out of Brooklyn or Long Island. And yeah, we worked on that together. It's fun. It was it's a short. And I'll be honest, I think it should be a little shorter than it is. It's almost 30 minutes, about 20, I think it's 28 or 29 minutes and something. And I still think there's a couple places we could cut some of my dialogue, a bit of the walking, some of the other actors' dialogue, just because when it's a short, it should just like boom, boom, boom. But it's a film with a twist. And I won't say too much about, you know, what it's about, just so that in case you guys ever watch it, it will leave you surprised at the end.
Okay.
but it was interesting to work on something like that. It was interesting to work to co-write a film, because yeah, I learned a lot about co-writing with somebody. It's an experience.
How do you like it as opposed to acting?
Oh, it was great. I enjoyed that as well. And I would love to direct too. There's a film project I have in mind that I want to write, and I would, maybe I would play a small role in it, but I would like to write it, and direct it if I can, rather than act in it.
See, that always seemed hard, because I know a lot of people act and direct at the same time in the same productions.
Yeah.
And I always have this idea of exactly how I want something to be. And when I do something, I have to do it over and over and over. It takes me forever until I get it the way I want. And I would drive everybody else on the set crazy. I probably wouldn't even notice what they're doing, because I'd be too stuck on my own performance. So yeah, that would be a challenge, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, working on, I mean, filmmaking is, as is life, a certain level of compromise, right? We all have to, it's a team effort. It takes a village, and no one person has well, I guess somebody does have final say, but I kind of thought producer did, but anyway, and ultimately, I mean, and I think in any film, the editing is the most powerful thing. And that's what I meant to say. I going all the way back to when you mentioned Beachcombers, one of the biggest things I learned doing Beachcombers was how powerful editing is, because I didn't realize, when you do a scene, you do numerous takes, and my choice personally for my character, when she starts to break down and she's crying, when she really realizes her mother's dead, which is what happened in that story, I kind of wanted her to be like, no, she's not dead. No, she's not. She's not. And he keeps saying she's dead. It's weird, because he goes, she's dead. She's dead. I mean, that's kind of weird to say to somebody. But anyway, he's yelling at me that my mom is dead. And I'm saying, no, she's not. And I played it that I was sort of, laughing it off because we had to repeat it so many times that I didn't want it to just be crying off the bat, and then eventually about the fifth time he says that, I'm like, she's, and I start to cry. Well, when I went to watch it, they took that crying that came, way towards the end of that scene, and put it right at the front when he goes, she's dead. I'm like, no, and I'm already crying. I'm like, I didn't like that, but that was their choice. But it showed me how the editing can completely change your performance, and it made my character a different character than I thought she was.
Right.
But it showed me the power of the editor, and, lots of things you learn.
Yeah, I think that I noticed that more in movies that I see recently. I think just being part of some of these fan films where you're like, okay, well, you could take to another shot at this point, or, the audio needs to be clipped a little bit more, or something. And I noticed it a lot more than I used to. And then every once in a while I'll see a big film. Like there was the Elvis film.
Oh, right,
To
right.
me, it was so bizarrely edited. I didn't appreciate it as much as everybody else did, because to me, I was like, why did you make that choice? And why is this moving so fast? And why are you not using an Elvis song here when it seems like Elvis, this is an Elvis movie. There should be, so it's almost distracting to me. And if I watch a movie with headphones on like these, I can't anymore. I was watching Star Wars once, and I could hear, like, Leia said one sentence, but I could tell it was from 3 different takes.
Oh,
And you could hear just every little thing, and I'm like, wow, this is awful. And so yeah, editing is my favorite part of all this stuff, and my least favorite at the same time, because yeah, it is so powerful, and it generally will be what makes or breaks a movie.
yeah, they can definitely make a performance much better than it really is, or much worse, and the same with writing and everything. I mean, it is the final say, and if you think about it, like, that's life. Like I remember might seem off topic, but when my kids were in this cooperative nursery school, it was an incredible place, and it was full of so much love and so much learning for the children. But there was like one little corner of the building that there was some mold, and then there was there were a couple that like a couple, like a little crack over here or there. But as parents, we were all aware of what was going on.
Mhm.
And the children, we were taught to really encourage the children's growth and exploration. And so they had a tool place where they had real tools like a saw, a hand saw and hammers and stuff. And the belief was that instead of, having them work with plastic, let them work with real stuff, supervise, show them,
Mhm.
but so that they learn right off the bat, like you don't smack your finger with a hammer and stuff like that. But and the other thing was there was these kids, like this one pair of twins, and they would always have tantrums and they'd be screaming on the floor. And the teacher was saying, allow them to have their tantrum. Make sure, just watch them, make sure that they don't hit anything, they don't hurt themselves, but let them go through it. And then when they're ready, and you can stop by once in a while and say, are you ready to talk or whatever? Anyway, so I was thinking one day, I was like, it was such an incredible learning place, and it was a very happy and safe place for the kids. But if you were editing it and you came in and you go, horrible, like this horrible place, and they show the kids having a tantrum, and the parents like are just walking over, ignoring the kid, and then they show this kid, a 2-year-old, with a saw, and they don't show that the parent is behind them, and then they cut to the mold, and they cut to this. They could make it, if they put that on a news channel, they could make it look
Oh
like
yeah.
horrible, horrible place,
Oh yeah.
or and the opposite is true. You could be in a skanky restaurant where there's rats running around, but you just show the nice pretty flower on the one table and the nice looking waitress and the a couple nice things, and a fake outside, and you can make a really ratty place look nice. So anyway,
Yeah.
but yes,
I,
so
I
people, don't believe what you see. I'm actually an alien. Oops.
Oh,
Uh-oh. And
Well,
we have a dog and a goat. We're all
yeah.
faking it here.
Well, my wife is from Flint, Michigan, and when the Michael Moore movie
Oh
about
yeah.
Flint came out, they're showing this ratty ass house, and she's like, the one right next to it is gorgeous. She
Oh,
says, so they're just picking out the crap.
wow.
to make it look
So
really.
yeah, so people thought, well, look at all he's done for Flint. And it's like, actually, he made Flint look much worse than it is,
Oh,
and
interesting.
made money off of that. Because yeah,
Huh.
I ended up living there for a while with my wife, and I'm like, boy, he really did, just show you what he wanted you to see.
Oh,
And
interesting.
and I worked in news for a while, and we
Huh.
did this story about the sex offender list. And we had done an interview with this guy, and he was on it, and he wasn't supposed to be. His crime was not sex related, and he was on the list. So he came on to defend himself and say, "Look, I'm sorry for what I did, but I didn't
Wasn't
do,
this.
this."
I'm not on
And
Epstein's list.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And I saw all the raw footage because I was the marketing guy, the creative services director, so I was making a promo. And then when I saw the newscast that night, the guy says, "I'm sorry for what I did," and that was it. So it looked like, because
Oh,
the
wow.
story was about the fact that, all the good that this list does.
Right.
And I took the story to the news director. I'm like, I don't know if you saw the raw footage or not, but we just made this guy look worse now because he's admitting it on TV, and the reason he
Right.
came on was to defend himself. And fortunately, that reporter was fired the next day. So we
Okay.
didn't stand for that. Now you can do damn near anything.
Right.
But at the time, that was something I was very proud of, was the fact that, okay, if we make a mistake, we're going to fix it. And, there's
Well, I'm glad.
not fake news.
Yeah, that
And
was great that you pointed it out, because I mean that's just horrible.
yeah, because and
Yeah.
not everyone's going to see the correction. You come on and
Right.
say, yesterday we said this, we apologize. Not everyone's going to see that,
Right.
and that's part of why news now just drives me insane, because of the fact that you can say whatever you want to any way you want it, and usually get away with it. And it's a whole nother world now. But yeah, you edit it, and you can change the story however you want.
Yeah. And I think that's something huge, something really important. You know, for all of us going forward in life, it's one of the biggest dangers, you know, fake news, and not even fake news, just how things are represented. And if people are so gullible that you just go with the first thing that you see or read, you know, you're going to be tricked time and time again. Like I've gotten to where, like on social media, whether it's something that supports my beliefs or not, I will back check. You know, I always look. First of all, I never forward anything anymore, just because, you know, I mean, unless I'm 100,000% sure it's completely true. I just, even if it's something again that will further my agenda of what I believe, I still don't trust it, you know, because all sides do the same thing. You know, we're all trying to, you know, make our argument, you know, seem accurate. And it's even in little innocent things. So I saw on, you know, Instagram or something, this little video clip, and it was, what animal was it? It was two animals. Like, I think it was some kind of like some little, it wasn't these two animals, but let's say it's a little rabbit. And it was like, there's this big highway and, you know, cars are going by, and there's this little rabbit, and like a fox or something is like going, nudging it along. And the person wrote, you know, whoever in the comments or dialogue, they said something to the effect of, you know, the sweet fox is helping this little rabbit across the street, and everyone was commenting with hearts and stuff, and oh, that's so loving. And I remember, you know, seeing it, and it was two different exotic animals. It's some animals in Australia, so they're, you know, they're all weird over there. But I remember, I think it's like a little animal that rolls into a ball. Like
Okay, yeah, I know the one you're talking about. I don't know.
And
Yeah,
then
it's a
some
little.
kind of, and then some kind of other animal, some kind of bird of prey or something was helping it along the road, and it did look like that. And I almost commented with a heart. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then I was looking at it, and it's like, it's really kind of weird that it's doing that, you know. And I was trying to first see, is this AI? And it didn't seem to be, you know, everything was moving smoothly. So I looked up that animal, whatever it was. And this other thing is its prey. And what it does is it nudges it to try to get it to roll over so it can get to its belly and attack. So all it was doing was like, it was pushing it along, trying to get it to its belly. But the way that they presented it, we all are going, oh, sweet little animal, scooping the other one, you know. And it's like, here's,
and 1 minute later it's devoured. And
you know, and okay, so that, if we believe that it was a friendly little animal, that's not going to hurt anybody, it's not going to change our lives. But that's the kind of thing that happens with politics and with, you know, world politics and really important things, that if they show you one little bit and with their little slant and their little story, and if we just automatically believe that without doing any further research, thinking about what happened right before or after the cameras were on, we're not getting the whole story, and it's very dangerous. And I think
especially like if a network is telling you the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and if that's really the one you're watching, that's the one you just assume is telling you the truth.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's way, even this the Howard Stern thing. There was this big thing about Howard Stern being canceled, and it was a prank, and they were talking about today. The Associated Press had covered it. Everybody covered it, but they got the story from somebody else. They said, well, so-and-so reported this, and so-and-so reported this, and so on. Like, why didn't somebody pick up the frickin' phone and call somebody that knows and find out the answer, instead of just saying, yeah, everybody else is reporting it, so it must be true. No, it's not. So it's that easy to manipulate people on any level. It doesn't matter. Like you're saying, the smallest thing can be taken completely wrong. And people, you really double check everything, especially if you are going to believe it and share it, because you're going to look pretty foolish if it turns out not to be the case. And that happens quite
more often. Yeah, it happens a lot. And when it comes to things that we're making decisions about, you know, do your homework. And I think, you know, going forward, especially with AI, it's like, just, I used to not be like a doubting Thomas. Like I would always think of people that are always doubting things to be more like a negative kind of thing. But I think nowadays, it's due diligence. Like, take the time, anything you read or see, whether it's you like it or not, if it's impactful, research, just look it up a few times and see, just because there's just so much misinformation,
Yeah.
and we don't know who's behind any of it. And,
Yeah.
you know,
And it's getting so much easier with the AI coming aboard. A lot of that looks, at first glance, a lot of that looks legitimate. Like I've seen major disasters happening, and I'm like, oh my God. And then you notice, oh, wait a minute. Why aren't these people reacting to it? It's because it's AI.
right.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
the kids can do this. It's not even that it's the adults looking for monetary gain or power or anything. You got the kids in school that are going, "Oh, I can make this wrestler look like he's 500 pounds."
Right.
Or, I mean, it's everywhere now. It's actually scary. I think AI is going to doom us all.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
I
and
know.
I mean
I
it's
think
it's
that,
fun because we do little AI things, sometimes at the beginning of the show, AI singing and that type of thing. But yeah, I mean it's almost the more they, especially in politics, the more they embrace it and say, okay, you can do whatever you want with it. I'm like, okay, because this is exactly what you're going to use as an excuse when something comes up, because you're going to say, oh no, that's AI. And I'm like,
yeah.
well, it wouldn't,
Yeah.
So it's almost like we're setting ourselves up for AI to be the scapegoat for everything, so people don't know, what's truth and what to question. And yeah, the same thing with those the all these disasters. I keep seeing all these roller coaster disasters, and I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, well that person just disappeared, so this one's fake. And yeah,
Right.
if this is really falling around, why is this guy sitting there eating ice cream and not turning around and saying, "Holy crap, I almost got killed by a." Yeah,
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 that's
so
always the funniest. Yeah, these huge monsters are going around, but there's somebody in the background just, eating and looking. It's like,
yeah,
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 but yeah, it's
That's one cool cat.
yeah.
and we've had so many obviously there's been so many movies made in the past of, robots and artificial intelligence, being the doom, turning around and killing us. And unfortunately, those of us who've lived long enough have seen most things man can think up end up eventually happening. So,
Yeah.
we've created it, and it's like, wow. I mean, at the very least, just the number of jobs we're doing ourselves out of. Remember when the whole thing with computers, it was going to save paper and give
Oh
us a
yeah.
lot more time. We were supposed
Yeah.
to be like all these people of leisure. I mean, I've never met a society where we're just more busy. We're all so busy. It's impossible to try to get an evening, like if you want to get together with like 5 friends, to just try to find a night that we can all get together, because everybody's schedule's all over the place. What happened to computers giving us all this extra time?
Yeah, no, you spend more time waiting for it to boot up. Then you have all these errors. Then my wife is a budget director, and she was showing me all these things that were these numbers that were wrong that she spends half her life correcting in the middle of the night. And I'm like, I thought you had formulas. The computer calculates this. They're like, well, it's taking it from different places. So if it's a point zero one here and a point whatever, that actually will move this number by 1 cent, and we have to make sure that that gets revised. So I was looking at all these things, and on one page there was like 7 errors, and I'm like, and she's got page after page after page. She actually one time came to the end of the Excel numbers. It was like 30 some thousand numbers. That's how many things she's got to look at. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's just, this stuff is designed to make your life easier, and she
Yeah.
spends her time correcting it. And
Right.
it's
And look at
insane.
things back in the pioneer days where we had to do all the farming and the cattling and all that shit, and we still had time to sit down at the dinner table as a family and enjoy a good meal.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. And then
Exactly.
when you went to bed, it was, you went to bed, you went to sleep. And, if you were out and busy, the phone just rang, and, they'd have to call you back. We survived. We all survived
Yeah.
without having to have all this, you know,
Yeah.
and nowadays we can't survive without our phones. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. If I don't post something on Facebook every day, my mom calls me worried. Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, because I used to be on radio, so she could just tune me in every day, and she knew. And as soon as I quit doing that, she hated it. Then I started doing Facebook. So now I have to post. It doesn't matter what it is. I got to post something every
Something.
single day, because now she depends on it and expects it. And I'm like, okay, love you,
Yeah.
mom. So
So
Yeah.
what did you think, Beatrice, when it came out that they were talking about using AI on in movies with the actors, and what,
Yeah.
how did that hit you?
I mean, pretty scary because, you know, I've seen situations where, because the other thing, you know, I'm also a yoga teacher, and I had heard this whole thing on how they use these robots in senior centers and senior retirement homes. Um, and they use these little AI robot guys to talk with the patients, to keep them company, tell them jokes, and the robots are actually learning that, you know, if somebody goes like this, then they'll say, "Oh, Mrs. So and so, are you upset today?" And, you know, whatever. And they start to learn your body language to know how to react to you and all this stuff. And they even have these robots teaching them to do yoga. And so as actors, I mean, you know, if they can just copy your voice and they can copy your likeness and they don't even need you anymore, it's, you know, I was thinking, I had this conversation with a friend walking around the lake just the other day, and I think the creation, like the designers and stuff, are probably the safest, you know, kind of, they'd probably be the last thing to go. You know, so many jobs I think can be taken over by AI. You know, production lines of all sorts could be done, even, you know, to a certain degree, kitchen duties. They already have like robotic things that can assemble food, or, you know, things certainly like in a movie theater or in a theater. You know, a robot could do the lighting, because you know, they could make the lights go up and down. They could, you know, the curtains close and all that stuff. And I suppose they could even have freaking robots being the actors on stage. But I think probably the very last thing to go will be the people that design it, because that's still us. I mean, AI can, it's creepy with Chat GPT how well they can write things. So I suppose somebody could even say, okay, AI, write a play about blah, blah, blah. And then you have a robot that writes the thing, you have robots that act in it, and you have, but I think when a human still need to like design the set, maybe AI can do it too. I don't know. We're doing ourselves out.
If it's all green screen, then yeah, AI could do that too. I mean,
Right.
it's because the closest thing I had, I was in 1923, and they scanned my entire body to multiply us to fill a boat, because the boat hadn't actually been designed yet. So we only shot the front of the boat with all of us, and then they were going to do the rest of the boat and fill us in. I don't think they actually ever needed us because I only saw me once.
Okay.
But then in another movie I was shooting, talk about cursed, our director fell, broke his hip, and then during the very first scene, and ended up having a heart attack and dying the same month. I mean, it
Oh my
was
God.
really tragic. His brother is looking to finish the film, and one of the options he's exploring is AI, taking our images and then making an AI version of them, because there's really no money. All the money was spent trying to do this first part, and you know, everybody flew from all over the country to shoot this, and now all that money has been spent already. So, and I was kind of going back and forth. I'm like, well, if it's still my image, I should be happy because, you know, I could be in it, even if I'm not acting it. And actually, with all the bad luck, because there was a string of things that happened, I almost don't want to go back because it was kind of like your situation. You're like, okay, I need to get out of here before, you know, one more thing happens. But then the other aspect is, even if it's just my voice, you know, if that's not my mannerisms actually acting it out, and I'm trying to get work elsewhere and they think that's me. But, you know, at this point, I don't think we'd have enough money to even do an AI version.
Mm.
Not correctly, but that's just something that they were looking at doing. But that was the first time I really started thinking about this. I'm like, man, you know, we're not that many years away from being able to do this. I mean, they're already made, you know, they made Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger looking, you know, 30 years younger, and they've already de-aging Harrison Ford and everybody.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, the
Crazy.
very next thing is they're not there at all, and it's
Yeah.
completely done by a computer.
I mean, as
So,
long as, I mean, that's why SAG has worked really hard on, you know, creating policies to protect us from that, because there's some aspects of, all this, modern technology that's been fantastic for actors. Like I haven't done a motion capture film yet, but a very good friend of mine, Karen Carnival, is the actress that plays Maurice the orangutan in the last three Planet of the Apes movies.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Have you guys seen those?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is phenomenal. The
Yeah,
work
and
that they've done in those movies are just, I mean,
yeah,
they look
and
freaking real.
they're so real. And Andy Serkis was you know becoming such a master at this thing. But here she is, she's smaller than me, a petite little woman, phenomenal actress, but she plays Maurice, this huge orangutan, and it's just she wouldn't have been able to do that, without this motion capture, without all that magic, but they, she studied and learned. She watched orangutans for real, it's become a huge passion of hers. She knows most of the orangutans around North America. She studied them and has relationship with them, and relationship in that they recognize her because she paints with them. Anyway, but
wow.
but it just was phenomenal to see that develop, and to see, as an actor, our dream is to be able to play all these different things. And what's his name that played the dragon in the British actor?
Sean Connery?
No,
He's not British. He's Scottish.
Yeah, he's Scottish, but he also was oh God, Watson.
Isn't Benedict Cumberbatch?
Who's the other side of Watson?
Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock, yeah.
But yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Benedict Cumberbatch. He played the dragon in what was it? What was it?
That's the thing, because all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, oh, I know that voice. I remember the voice, and now I'm trying to remember the movie.
And they show him, it's been on YouTube and stuff a lot of times, and they show him, crouching down on the ground and slithering around and, doing all the motion, phenomenal performances captured. And then they animate it and make it into that incredible dragon. And it's just so powerful, because one of my dreams, I've always, I wouldn't need that. I would just need good prosthetic makeup. But one character that I've always wanted to play is John Merrick, the Hunchback. Elephant Man, rather. I'd love to play Elephant Man. And I guess I don't need artificial intelligence, just
prosthetics.
But anyway,
I just heard they were remaking that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forget who's doing it, but yeah, it's being remade right as we speak. And that's one of those movies that I've seen once. It's one of the most phenomenal movies I've ever seen. Everybody needs to see it once because it really tells you how you should treat people. Yeah. But I can't go back and watch it again because it is so heartbreaking. I can't bring myself to watch it again, but it is a perfect movie. It is phenomenal.
Me with Dances with Wolves, I couldn't watch it again. I couldn't leave my seat when I watched it. And that's
there's certain movies I'll never see Old Yeller again.
Oh, yeah.
there's certain movies I just can't do it.
You just don't want to go through that sadness and pain. But
again, and I don't need to, because I that movie I haven't seen The Elephant Man, I haven't seen in so many years, and I still have it in my mind. I can still remember so many sequences, and there's movies I saw 2 weeks ago that if you asked me what the plot was about, I couldn't tell you, because they don't stand out. But that one really does.
Yeah.
Speaking about your movies, which of your movies that may not be as popular do you wish people had seen or will see in their lifetime? If you just pick one. And maybe it is Nightmare on Elm Street or a Stakeout, but there's, one movie that you really wish more people would have the chance to see.
Well, to be honest, I've yet to be in a film of the caliber, the kind of movie that, has really, really touched me. I think movies for me, like Shawshank Redemption, I just, oh my God, or, Hacksaw Ridge. Was it Hacksaw Ridge with the the guy that,
Andrew Garfield.
yeah,
Yeah, he's saving the lives. He won't
Saving
use the gun, but
Lives.
he's saving the
Yeah.
incredible movie. Both of those.
I don't know. There's so many movies that like that just really moved me and touched me. And I feel like I'm a better person, Forrest Gump, I mean, there's a lot of movies that you just, that's just so interesting. But there's movies that I feel that I'm a better person for having seen. I've not been in a movie like that yet, but
one, just your performance that you like, okay, I really nailed this one. I wish more people would see it. So I'm in a ton of stuff that nobody watches ever. And I'm like, okay, this one I really, even if I'm not in it that much, I want people to see it just because it's really good.
yeah.
But
I wonder, well, I think, depending on, again, how they're edited, because I haven't seen the final product, but this Moonbeam, which I did a couple weeks ago, where I play a homeless woman. It's by an actress. Well, she's a burlesque performer and pretty amazing woman, Nola, who she goes by Nola Bunny. That's not her real name. It's Nola Kadish, I believe. And it's called Moonbeam. And what we filmed was the proof of concept to try to raise money for the full-length feature. But I love playing that character, and I think it's going to come out really well. That would be nice for people to see if it works out. And then even the one that we just did, which was a little crazy, Loose Ends, Victim No More, the Friday the 13th. My character, again, if the editing, I mean, we just shot it, so I have no idea, but if the editing comes out as well as one would hope and everything, I think I'd love for people to see that performance. But and they both were short. The final walk, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I've done a lot, but I will be honest. Like I want to, as an actor, I want to be in a film. It doesn't need to be the lead role or anything, but I want to be in one of those films that I'm like, oh my God, that just touched the heart. And and I have to say, I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street, I never in a bazillion years would have put in that category. And yet, from my interactions with the fans, I've been brought to tears by some of the things I've been told from fans, how impactful the whole franchise was. And for some people, specifically my character as Amanda Krueger, people are touched by movies in different ways. And I guess depending on where you are in life when you see a movie, and what's going on and how it can impact you. I mean, I've heard from fans who really were very deeply moved. And whether, I think with horror, generally speaking, it's when you're having a pretty rotten life, or going through a really tough time in life, or just very scared. Like it could be just that, there's a lot of fearful things in your life. Horror films can be very cathartic. I've come to learn that they've been very cathartic for people at different times in their lives. And either by identifying with the final girl or boy, who overcomes their fear enough to defeat the monster. That's been very important for some people, or visualizing themselves, or identifying with the monster who is able to, wreak havoc on the people that have been bullying them. One or the other, but a lot of people have found kind of solace from watching these horror films. Like it helped them through their childhood, and it took me a while. Like I didn't believe it at first when fans would say things like that to me, but I've been hearing it over and over and over, and doing shows in London and all over the place. And why these fans of horror are so dedicated and devoted to it. It's not just that they love the blood and guts. A lot of people watched them when they were young, and they found it, for some, maybe it's just the escape, but either way, these films were vital for them and made a really big impact, and not just a horrible, yucky impact, but a positive impact, it took me a while to really get that. Like I didn't, you know, for me, when I'm sad, and I'm going through something bad in life, and especially when I was younger, I would go the opposite. Like I wanted to see happy, happy. But I can see where for some people to see a happy movie when you're feeling like shit isn't going to be rewarding. You're like, you know, you can't relate to that. And it's like, I'll never have that, you know, so a horror film maybe is more, it helps you move through what you're going through. You know, I was bullied as a kid. I was the foreigner. I lived in Japan in the 60s. So we were like tormented. You know, people were thinking, you know, it's those Americans when they were talking about the Hiroshima bombing.
Yeah.
You know, and my family was like the only Americans in this whole village, you know, so we were,
Oh, wow.
we were tormented, and I know what that's like, you know, but, you know, and I can see where for some people, if you're being really bullied, you know, maybe helping, you know, identifying with a killer or with the person that defeats the monster can be, you know, cathartic. So
John, I thought you
That's
were
a deep thought.
Yeah. Well, I know I
went
interrupted John's question, so I didn't want that pause.
yeah,
I don't even know where I was. I'm gonna go get some tissue, man.
there we go. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I
that'd
was
be
gonna
weird.
bring.
Like I'm in the middle of the store, I'm talking, and I just randomly just stop. Did you think my screen was frozen? Anyway,
No.
but anyhow, yes. But yes, I don't know. I didn't really answer your question. Did I answer your question?
No, you did. So, and one other thing that you're talking about with the fans, years ago, there weren't all these conventions. There were some sci-fi ones. Now, we've talked this with other guests we've had. There is such I wouldn't say it's a resurgence, it's a surgence of horror conventions all over the place. And I knew there was a few, and now just about every town has one. Um, does that surprise you that it's become what it's become, especially for a film that you had done so long ago? You did explain some of it just now as you were talking about it, but this just has to be such a surprise that you're doing this body of work now, and you go and people are talking to you about a movie you did, and not just a movie, it's the fourth sequel to a film. And how has the reception changed for the film over these years as well, from the reaction you get from the fans?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know anything about these horror conventions. I didn't even know they existed until we did Never Sleep Again, the big, you know, huge anthology thing that they did, which was, I think, what was that, 15 years ago now or something like that. It was a
Like
while
that.
ago. Um, anyways, so when I was filming, when I was doing my interview, they had, you know, producers basically just combed the internet, I guess, and found all of us. Like so many actors from the Elm Street franchise had nothing to do with conventions. We didn't even know they existed. We didn't know anything about it. It was a film we did 35 years ago, and we all moved on. Well, at the time, I guess 25 years before or whatever. So anyway, I was at that, some apartment in New York City doing my interview, and Toy Newkirk, who, you know, from Elm Street, who was in 4, right? I think in Elm Street 4. She was there, and what we were talking, and she says, "How come I never see you at the cons?" I was like, "Cons?" Like I was thinking, was she talking about like whatever? I don't even know how you pronounce it.
Convicts.
The film festival.
Like, why aren't you hanging out with convicts?
You know, oh, that could be that too, con. You know, so I really didn't know what she was talking about, and then she explained it to me, and I'm like, wait, what? Like people want to meet us and they want to get our autograph? Like, are you kidding me? Like I didn't believe her. And then after we did that, that film, the director got a bunch of us. Well, it got the cast of 5 together and sent us to 2 conventions. And again, like that was like about 15 years ago, and we couldn't believe it. And we just couldn't believe it, meeting the fans and everything. We had no idea like what to charge, and I had to work on an autograph. I'm like, well, how will I sign my name, because my writing is just terrible. And it was very mind-blowing, very interesting, but I still, at the time I just didn't really understand what was going on. And I think the only thing I could even relate it to was an episode of, was it Seinfeld, or an episode of some show where they had a convention with a Star Trek convention, and
Oh, it's
they were
probably Saturday Night Live.
maybe, they were spoofing it or whatever. And
Yep. It's probably Saturday Night Live.
and I remember thinking, this, I just didn't believe that these things existed. Anyway, did those 2 shows. It was great fun. And then went back to my regular life, being a mom, a PTA mom, and, raising my kids. And I will say, for a good 20 years or so, nobody in my life knew I was Freddy Krueger's mom. Like, nobody knew I was even an actor. Like, I just didn't tell anybody. I don't know. I just did my own thing. I was being a mom. And then probably about 4 years ago, Peter Valderrama, who represents a lot of people, a lot of horror actors, for conventions, reached out to me through Facebook and said, hey, would you be interested if, could I represent you? Would you want to do a show? And I did 1 or 2 shows, and then started doing more. And that's where I learned of how much this meant to fans. And yeah, I was blown away, because it was something that I done 35 years ago, had moved on. Nobody in my family has ever seen it. No one's ever seen, none of my relatives have seen Nightmare on Elm Street, because nobody's really into horror films. They all see my other stuff, but and then realizing how big of an impact it's had on people, and realizing how huge the franchise has become, and how huge Robert Englund is, and Freddy Krueger, and it just had never dawned on me that I was Amanda Krueger, and what that really meant. So yeah, I've been blown away, and then seeing all these conventions one after the other. And last year I did like 12 back to back, and it was a lot of travel. I loved meeting everybody. It was really great fun, but it exhausted me, because I give my 100% when I'm at them.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah. And then so afterwards, I'm just like kind of wiped out. And I realized I just couldn't do them back to back. And this year, and I also realized I wasn't spending a lot of time with family and stuff. So I cut back this year. But as long as they exist, I certainly would be happy to do a couple a year. It's a great way to meet with the fans. And
you have one coming up. It's a family reunion with Freddy, you, and Freddy's daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. So Lisa Zane, who played his daughter, the 3 of us, well, so this is probably as far as most of us can figure, I think this is the largest Nightmare on Elm Street reunion ever, anywhere. And it's going to be in Kentucky at Scarefest. And they have actors from every Elm Street, one through, well, at least 1 through 6, if not more. I don't know if they do. They might have people from Freddy versus Jason and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I don't want to quote wrong, but I know there's at least 10, maybe 15, or I don't know. There's a ton. So if you are a Nightmare on Elm Street fan watching this, listening to this, check out Scarefest 2025, which will be in October. And look at the list. Robert Englund's going to be there, and it's the first time ever that there's going to be a photo op, and it might be the only time ever that you can get a photo op with the Krueger family, which is Freddy Krueger, his mom, played by yours truly, and his daughter, Lisa Zane. So that's never been done before, because we weren't in the same film. I mean, Robert's in all of them, but Lisa and I weren't in the same one. So to have us together, to get the family together, is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And also on September 30th, I believe, all 7, or the first 7 films, are going to be released as a 4K box set with an extended cut of your film, The Dream Child.
The extended version, I believe, was released in Europe and such.
Are
you get
you
to
in
see.
more of it? Do you know if you will be part of that footage or not?
I don't, I don't think so. I mean, unless they get more detailed of my giving birth, like go further up my legs. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. I, I, I do
It's
know
that
that
type of movie. I understand.
Aha!
Okay.
the scenes that were famously cut in ours was, you know, uh Greta getting fed her stomach. I mean, they cut a lot of that out. And so in the extended version, it's going to be even more gross. Like, because he really, like, he scoops out her guts, and, you know, you see the guts and it's going in her mouth. And then Danny's death, you know, on the motorcycle, like more, I think more detail of the flesh, you know, the things coming through his hand and stuff like that. That kind of level of gore will be more prominent. I don't know what else.
I think it's
Those were
weird that it's the 7 movies, but it doesn't have Freddy versus Jason, because in this set, Freddy versus Jason is included. So I figured rights wise they would have it, but it's not included. But they're also going to be for those, I think it's just Alamo Drafthouse. I'm not sure if other theaters are doing this, but I do know that Alamo Drafthouse, I believe the day before or the day after, is going to start a marathon of the 4K releases.
wow.
So you can watch them in theaters, all of them. And if you haven't got to see them in theaters before, this will be your chance to see all of the Nightmare on Elm Street in theaters, which will be very, very cool.
And I really encourage those who are Nightmare on Elm Street 5 haters, Dream Child haters. If you have seen it with an open mind as an adult and still hate it, then fine. You know, that's of course your prerogative to hate it. But I do strongly feel that a lot of people who, you know, hated it back then when they were a kid and they saw it and they've really never seen it since because they hated it. I feel like you know, a lot of you would change your mind if you saw it now. And my take on it, I personally feel that the reason why it was like so like hated. I mean, we're talking about hated by some of the people, some Elm Street fans, because they were such Dream Warrior fans. They loved the Dream Warriors. They watched them in 3 and 4 and got to really know those characters and care about them, which is great, you know, and which is one of the things that make this such a long-lasting franchise. You know, so they're invested in these characters, and then suddenly 5 comes right on top of 4. Like, it was made in the same year. I mean, you know, 4 comes out, then they were making 5, and then slap it out right before people barely got over 4, and all their favorite characters are gone, you know, and only Lisa and Danny live through, and they just a whole new cast of characters that nobody even knows that you have to learn to like again. A different Amanda, you know, weird Freddy's babe, everything's so different. And I think that was a real turnoff for a lot of people. And I think that prevented people from seeing it as its own piece, you know, in its own right. You know, are there still faults no matter what with 5? Of course. I mean, every one of them, I think everyone has, you know, things that you can fault about the films. But I do feel like if you looked at it on its own, for most, you know, horror fans, it's there's a lot to be said for it, you know, not just the gothic scenery, which I think is some of the best scenery in all the franchise. Like, we're just really, really cool sets. And then the baby Freddy, which I just find fascinating. But, you know, even interesting deaths. I mean, people talk about, you know, that there are only 3 kills in it. It's the lowest death count, and, you know, and some people hate some of the deaths. Like, I love the cartoon death of Joe Seeley. What does he play? What's his character? The skateboard kid. And whatever his character's name was. But he, you know, I thought it was very creative. Some people absolutely hate that one. And that's something that, you know, if you hated it, you hate it. You know, that's just a matter of taste. But I don't know. I think it doesn't deserve the amount of hate it gets. I think it's I really like 5. And I'm not saying that just because I'm in it, because there's things I've been in that I wouldn't really say are great. I
Mhm.
can tell what I like and I can tell what I don't like. And I think that there's a lot to be said for 5. Um, so anyway, I encourage people now with the new one coming out to, when you watch 5, if you haven't seen it as an adult, just take a deep breath, see it as an individual thing. Don't think about 3 and 4. Don't think about the dream warriors, because yeah, that will disappoint you if you're wanting them to continue on, because they don't. They're all gone. It's a whole new thing. So aside from Lisa and Danny, who,
And that's one of the things that I do from time to time is I'll go back and revisit films that I ultimately hated when I first seen them.
right,
I just did this with The Fog. John Carpenter did the original Fog. They remade it, and when I had seen it originally, I hated it. But
right,
the only reason I really hated it is because I had that John Carpenter movie to draw so much on.
right,
When I rewatch it, it's actually a pretty decent movie. The ending still sucks,
right,
but it's not that bad a movie.
right.
One of the things I wanted to ask you was back to the conventions. When you made that first convention back, when you were doing the big Nightmare on Elm Street thing, what was the fans' reaction to you on the convention scene for that first show? Because I know when I see a celebrity at a convention, and I go to a lot that I've never seen before, I get giddy like a schoolgirl.
Right. Yeah. Well, the very first one, the fans hadn't seen any of us. I mean, Lisa Wilcox was the only one from 5 that had been doing convention, and her and Robert, of course.
Of course.
He had been doing them all along. I did Kelly Jo Minter might have done 1 or 2. Not certainly not a lot, and she still doesn't do a lot of them. Danny, trying to think, but for sure Erica, who played the model, and Joe Seeley, who played the comic book guy, and myself, who plays the mom, and oh my god, am I forgetting somebody? And then now Michael Bailey Smith, who plays Super Freddy, he's started doing them, but he only started doing them very recently, conventions. But back when we did that first one, pretty much the whole cast, other than Lisa, were brand new for everybody. So the fans were all Elm Street fans, were very giddy because, well, those who like 5 or just want to collect for their posters. So we got a really great reception for sure. Like, they hadn't seen really any of us, so we were all con virgins. So they were popping all our bubbles at once.
Well, I do think that over time, all of these movies, even the ones that, weren't as well received originally, are getting more or better received now, because I think at the time, because I had the same problem with movies. I remember when Ghostbusters 2 came out, and I was like, what the hell is this?
Right.
You're trying to tell jokes, and I'm not, they're not landing to me. And I didn't like the story. And I'm like, oh, now we're trying to have another big thing walking through New York. And I'm like, you're just trying to rehash it. And I'd seen it a couple times before or since, and it's still, every time I saw it, I'm like, this is just like a bad Ghostbusters remake. And then the other night, literally, I think it's probably within the last week, I saw Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 back to back for the first time. And I'm like, you know what? This actually isn't too bad. It for some reason, the way it blends into the other one, it doesn't have the same feel than separated. And I don't know, because your issue was the same thing where you're if you watch them together, maybe you're upset because you don't see the same characters you're hoping for. But maybe now that there's a brand new box set, it's going to be crystal clear. You're going to get an extended version of a movie that may have not seen prior. Maybe you had a UK version of it. But I think a lot of these movies from the past, once you start putting them in, the big viewing marathon form, they are more accepted, because you can just see this flow, and you're like, okay, this is the one that has this element, this is the one that has this element, and it's one big complete package. I'm one of those people that has to own the sequel to every movie, no matter what I think about it. I've got every Police Academy movies, no matter how many they made.
Or Stakeout 2, which didn't have
Stakeout 2, which
me.
doesn't even have you in it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm in Independence Day too, which every time I say Independence Day, they're like, "Oh, you're in Independence Day?" I'm like, Resurgence, the second one. Oh. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I'm in Better Call Saul. You're in Breaking Bad too? No, I'm in Better Call. Oh, I always get the because I'm not in the classic one.
Right.
But I think over time, I've noticed that they start to come together, especially depending the younger people who didn't watch the one and then had to wait a year or two or three for the sequels.
Right.
Now they're seeing them all together. So it's I think in their mind, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's this is a Nightmare on Elm Street. It might be
Right.
different chapters of the same movie, but I don't think they see them the same way. Same with Friday the 13th. It's now just one big thing that all mushes together for them. They don't see them as separate chapters. And I might be, completely blowing smoke up my own ass when I say that, but that's how I'm seeing them
You do
now.
yoga? How do you
I can get into some positions that are, but I think
smoke up the butt.
just when I see the movies back to back now, I see them differently. For even Return of the Living Dead or any of these type of films, where if you watch them back to back, they're different. Except for Stakeout, yeah, you just can't get over two. Is there something sadly, gravely missing from
I
Stakeout
think
2?
so.
I see you in a different light now, Kyle, that you say that you can get into some good positions.
Right?
Way different light.
Yeah. The smoke up the butt position is a very, very hard one to master.
I'd say I'd send y'all a photo, but not gonna happen.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we've taken up way more time of yours. Thank you so much for joining us. We explored some areas we didn't think we were going to get into. Um, Please tell us about everything that you have going on that you can tell us about in the future, any other conventions you may be at, and all of those, John will find links to, and we will put them in the description for the videos. We post this on Facebook and YouTube and all over the place. All the descriptions will have links to the website for your book, all of that. So list everything that you want to promote, and we'll make sure we get them on for you.
Okay, well, so coming up, well, it's this weekend, so I don't think you will have air this but in time, but is the Fright Reads Horror Book Festival in Maryland. I'm going up there this weekend. And in fact, when you mentioned the big Stay Puft guy from Ghostbusters, he's going to be there. An actor that apparently did the costume was in it for a number of is going to be at this thing, as is well, anyway, it's Fright Reads Book Festival in Maryland. That's this weekend. And I'll be selling my book because it's like horror books, like scary books will be all there. I think they have like 100 authors. So I'm very excited that I get to be there as an author as well. And then the other one will be Scarefest this fall, down in Lexington, Kentucky. And it is the biggest Nightmare on Elm Street gathering that's been, as well as the first and only, perhaps only time ever to have the Krueger family together, father, daughter, and mother. So
I'm looking real quick. I'll just throw this in there, and I'll post a picture of this when I do put it all together. But for that convention, there are not 10 of you. There are 20
wow.
Nightmare on Elm Street actors.
See, that's huge.
That's going to be massive.
That's
People are going to be coming from all over for that one.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, that's one huge gathering. And from 5, it's actually Lisa, Danny, myself, and I think Michael is going to be there too. Super Freddy, Michael Bailey Smith. We're all going to be there. It's the only photo op they don't have is 5, but maybe they're going to add it. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. Again, my book and my website. A lot of these films that will be coming out, to support them too. People can support the films. Amityville Barbie, I'm looking forward to that one coming out. We haven't filmed it yet. They've been doing parts of it, but it's a production where Barbie is she's a demon slayer. She fights demons, and I play this nosy neighbor who turns out to be like the elder master demon slayer. So it's going to be kind of fun.
Oh, so you're the mentor.
Yeah, and then there's also Emerald Forest. Darren Lee Culp. This is a big budgeted, well, big for independent, big budgeted film that's been in the works for a while. They've done a bit of the beginning, and it's just a chock full of horror actors. Felissa Rose is in it. I'm in it. Lisa Wilcox is in it. Mark Patton is in it. Danny Hassel is in it. I think Toy Newkirk, or I better shut my mouth. But I think all who's in it. And also from other franchises too. It's gonna be it's The Wizard of Oz, like 300 years before Dorothy or something. It's back in the time with wizards and witches and all that kind of stuff. So, and I'm playing the Green Witch, Nason. And yeah, there's quite a few exciting things coming out, but and Horror Hound Bites, which Anthony and Mandy Caimano are putting out. It's going to be a web series, I believe. And in each episode, I already had filmed all my bits. I play Madame Midnight, the mother of horror, and I tell a little short little ghost story in everyone. And I'm this character with the long wig, and
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of a lot of fun. But yeah, and then just follow me on social media on Facebook and Instagram, where I will be posting the films when, as they come up and as they're released. So that's the best way to follow my up and coming projects. Yeah, and Instagram, if anyone knows how to get followers for me on Instagram. Because apparently the European shows judge you by your Instagram number of followers. And it's like, so some of the shows, like, they just won't have actors. Like, they look at your Instagram and they're like, no, we're not going to invite them out here. So,
really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's wild.
I know. Kind of crazy. But anyway.
Don't they know who you are? I mean,
there's only one mother of Freddy.
I was going to say, that's all they need. That's screw Instagram.
Yeah. So anyhow, but yes, it's been lovely chit-chatting with you guys.
I am thrown at just the incredible outpouring that you get from the fans. I mean, some of the stuff that you posted on there is just insane.
Right.
That is cool.
All that artwork. I know it's kind of fuzzy. I don't know why. I don't have it on blur, but it is blurred.
Mine's the same way. Mine's not on blur either, and all my stuff's blurred. John's the only one that's got it working.
Yeah, but I don't have anything to show.
Amazing. Look at my Amanda.
That is cool.
Crocheted, hand crocheted. I got this in the mail. A fan sent it. They had made it, and
that's time and money. I mean, it's not just somebody's a fan wants your autograph. They're going through all this time and money to make very cool things just to give them to you. That is very cool of them. And
she even has like a crocheted glove with the claws. Look at that.
Oh, that is so.
And it's like she's got the same,
Wild.
That is cool. That would be worth it to me to be in these movies, just for the love that you're getting from the fans. Forget the money, forget everything else. Just having a fan want to do something that nice for you once, let alone have it continuously happen.
It's incredible. I've cried many a time from letters that I've received, from emails I received, from gifts. It's like, it's so moving. It's so touching. And, and it took me a long time to get to where I can actually believe that, obviously it must have impacted them. Otherwise, why would they be doing all this,
Exactly.
At first I thought, when people would say, oh my God, we love the film. And it, it was such a big part of my childhood. And I remember thinking, wait, Nightmare on Elm Street? I mean, Sesame Street was a big part of my No, seriously.
There's a movie, A Nightmare on Sesame Street, right there.
Sesame Street is how I learned English because we lived in Japan. Oh God, we're gonna keep talking. But anyway,
Let's save some stuff for part 2.
Yeah, we'll have you back after when you have these other movies coming out, especially the Mystery Mother movie.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate you taking all this time. I know it's probably very late where you are. We appreciate it. We'll get the links on the screen and in the description, so you can follow and purchase and attend all of your upcoming events. Thank you so much to Beatrice Boepple.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so
It's been
much
a
for coming
pleasure.
out. For John Horton, I'm Kyle Pearson, and this has been In the Spotlight.
So sit back and watch our chat with our guest. We promise you that we will be our best, and by the end we are sure you'll agree. There can only be one, the awesome Beatrice Boepple.